So Bitcoin's dumping, and this is going to be a short video because it doesn't really need to be a long video, because although we're dumping 4 or 5%, however much percent, nothing's really happening. You know, we're still in the range. If you followed me on Twitter, then you know that I've been saying no longs until 62.3, and it is simply because liquidity. Understanding liquidity is going to very much so help your trading and build you a lot of confidence when it comes to your trades. That's why yesterday in the VIP, yeah, there were a couple scalp positions here. I wasn't interested in taking any of those. Rather, I was interested more in adding to my swing short position that I told you guys I was in on Friday from up here, and I added to my swing short. Obviously, we took profit on this low, and now we're here, right? So who cares about all that? That's all the past. You guys know I don't bullshit anything, no fluff. I eat the ginger, and, you know, I call it how I see it, and this was a very easy short. And now we're here. So what now? Well, on Friday, after getting slandered, actually rather before getting slandered from some of you guys on the internet, I talked about how this range here has a lot of volume, okay? And that this is a very important range. This range is very manipulated, okay? And it wasn't manipulated due to the direction in which it broke out. It was manipulated just due to the movement within the range. You can look at this range, you could see it. It is very ugly. And then later, once I uncovered that this range caused quite a lot of volatility, and quite a lot of volume, which evidently brought the point of control in the range down 5%. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch my last video. You'll get it. But there's a lot of volume here, and I said that if you're gonna miss this range, if you're gonna start to lose this range, then things start to get very bearish. And so that's kind of what this very quick update is. You know, we're back within the range, and we're in this zone. We're SFPing currently. Now, there's no confirmation on this SFP quite yet, but I am looking now to potentially get a long position up towards 60, 67, maybe 70K, maybe 74K. I don't know, but I'm only going to enter upon confirmation. If I don't see confirmation, rather if we start to continue to lose this range, then I will be looking to compound my swing short. I will be looking to add to my swing short to these levels below. Now you could say, Geo, we have so much support below us. Why would you be looking to compound your short? And it really comes down to liquidity. As I mentioned, if you can understand liquidity, you can have a lot more confidence with your trades. And the majority of the swing trades I take, you guys know I'm a scalper. The majority of the swing trades that I take are based around liquidity, right? And when you have a bunch of ranges like this, similarly to how for the past month we've had a lot of ranges to the upside that we could have rejected from, it's not uncommon for Biddy to just absolutely rip all of them. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen. Obviously, I'm looking for long positions in each one of these zones. And obviously, they are relatively big zones. So I can't sit here and tell you where I'm going to get my confirmation if it's not going to already be in. Like the low might be in already. I'm not going to sit here and say that. However, what I am going to say is that there is a potential that we do end up losing this very highly manipulated range that possesses a lot of volume. And I believe that if we start to lose this, not only will these positions only act as scalp positions, but you might get a nice bearish retest where you flip bearish, and then that could be a potential adding to your giga short, or your swing short rather, right? What other confluence do we have to potentially go lower? Well, let's start with the elephant in the room. It is October, and everybody and their mother is screaming for October. I have never seen people as bullish as it is now. There are people that post the most ridiculous thing on Twitter, man. They say, oh, wow, tomorrow's October. You're pre-rich. Get ready for what's happening. Like, guys, it's not going to be that easy. The market doesn't work that way. It's not a charity, as we already know. And similarly to how I was pretty confident that we were going to come down to 62.3, and that I was telling my VIP members, no longs. And I was telling you guys on Twitter, no longs. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. No longs until 62.3 at the very least. Yes, now longs are technically acceptable. Yes, I will be looking to find a long, like I said. But just like I was fairly confident in that move, we have a bunch of liquidity to the downside that we could come for. You know, we have these range demands that have not been mitigated. Tons of liquidity that we left behind. And like I said, when you can finally, well, when not finally, but when you can properly understand liquidity, that is what can give you a lot of confidence with your swing trades, right? But not only that, let's also talk about the, I mean, maybe it's not an elephant in the room anymore, but we also, on CME futures, have a CME gap down here at 54K, you know, that we left behind. And I find it rather interesting how everybody seems to be super, I don't know why this value keeps changing on me, but everybody seems to always talk about the CME gaps that we have to the upside and the bullish scenarios, but nobody ever seems to talk about the ones we leave to the downside. And again, I'm not really necessarily a direct trader from CME itself. Like, I don't say, oh, that's a CME gap, so I'm only going to look to short towards it. But when we have confluence, like, you know, relatively a decent amount of liquidity that we never came for, and you want to add a little, you know, cherry to the pie here and say, okay, I mean, I don't know how to draw trend lines. You guys know that I don't draw trend lines, but you know, if you were to draw it like however retail draws it, like that or whatever, you could say now that you lost the trend line, so what's the target? Probably the low, right? So it does add it is an added confluence for that to happen. And, you know, we'll see what happens. You know, I think that it's going to be a relatively volatile month, whether it's to the upside or to the downside. September or Rectember was not actually Rectember. So, you know, is there a chance that October will not be October? Absolutely, there's a chance. But at the end of the day, like, who am I or who are you to say that it has to do this or it has to do that? When the truth is, it doesn't have to do anything. It could completely disrespect the CME gap. It could completely disrespect all these zones to the downside. It at least hit this one, so I'm cool to long now. You know, if we get along, great. If we don't, then don't. And no pun intended, get along. But the last thing I want to add is that, you know, this is a very, as I mentioned before, you know, very high volume area. And it's a very... it's important as well because of structure, right? If you're following your structure from the low to the high and you come to a decent time frame, let's say the 4-hour time frame, you could argue that your upward structure is up, down, up, down, up. If you don't want to count this, I mean, you kind of have to. So it'd be down, up, and then now you could get a down SFP. So if you do SFP this low, which is where we are right now, I'm waiting for confirmation. We do not have a confirmation on the SFP yet. It's a high time frame SFP. But if we do SFP that low, then your target becomes the high. And then if your target becomes the high, then I don't see why you wouldn't make it upwards of like 68, 69, maybe 70K, maybe to take this high, right? It's all a possibility. But if you start to lose this low, then your 4-hour structure from the up trend here has officially flipped bearish. And I do think that it is very important to understand that your overall macro structure is still pointing down. You know, I made a video saying that if we take 62, I'll be more, or 65, I'll be more neutral. If we take, you know, 62, like whatever the case is, right, I'll be more neutral. But it is very important to understand, and I had some fights on people on Twitter because people are malicious and, you know, wish harm on me just for making YouTube videos, which I find is rather strange. But anyways, if you take your structure from the high to the low on the macro, okay, I know I'm on the daily, like on the macro, and I'm going to skip some points, but this is your macro daily structure right now. That's it. You know, we've been internal since we've had that 49K dump. So could this be, and I'm not saying it is, but could this be the lower high on the daily time frame? If that 4-hour flips bearish, yeah, it definitely could be a lower high on the daily to potentially come down lower, maybe potentially wipe out all that liquidity that we left for the month of Rectember, and potentially make our way down to, you know, a lot of people were saying 44K. Now people are saying all-time high, whatever the case is, right? Is that a possibility? Absolutely, it's a possibility. So, you know, I have a lot of places where we could find longs off of, right? I'm not saying that we're gonna come down. I'm not saying we're gonna make a new low, not at all. But technically speaking, could this happen? Absolutely, it could. And so, you know, I think it's very important to remain neutral in this market. I think it's very important to ignore the Rectember narrative because, you know, you would have gotten wrecked if you shorted that. And I think it's also equally as important to ignore the Uptober narrative because who knows what's going to happen. Maybe we go to Uptober. Maybe it goes 100K in October. Maybe it does. I don't know. But maybe it doesn't. So that's my quick update for you guys. If you like the content, make sure to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that you can get my updates. I usually make videos a lot more often, and I will be making more videos more frequently starting this week. Obviously, you guys know I had a health issue, but I'm not going to keep telling you that. I appreciate the love I've gotten in response to that, by the way. And the responses I've gotten for that. And the last thing is, if you want to join my VIP network where, you know, I give my updates all the time. You know, I say, this is what we're looking for. I say, look, yesterday, for example, let me pull it up here. Sorry, I'm a little bit unorganized today. Yesterday, for example, you know, I mentioned even in this video that we had a couple long ideas, and I mentioned that we were probably going to come up and, you know, something like this is still possible. The daily and monthly is about to open. So I wouldn't put it past Asia to do something like this and give us a 1% move to the upside. I gave that update right here yesterday. We were right here where, see right here, this is the same thing. Same low, 1, 2, 3 tap up, hitting this guy. We didn't quite come as high as I would have liked to for the purposes of hitting that. That's completely fine. But the exact thing that we wanted to see happened, and we had our 5-minute market structure flip at the high here. So this morning I was screaming short. Obviously that worked out. Last night I said we might have a long here up to here, and that, anyways, you guys get it. If you're looking for for the link to join that, or if you're interested in joining my VIP network where I have a bunch of, traders that are like-minded and want to win and play the markets as objective as possible, as neutral as possible, and we don't get caught up in the noise and all the BS that you see on the internet, then the link for that is in the description down below. Shouts out to my Shouts out to my Nexus users. As for everybody else, take care. God bless. I hope you guys have a good day. I hope you guys are doing well in these markets. Ew, I just sounded like one of those bots that always scams people. Hope these markets are treating you well. But yeah, I'll hit you guys later. And the last thing I want to update you on is I will be making a video on Breakout and Top Step, which are two prop firm accounts this week. And I have recently taken my talents to futures, and I've been doing very well with the S&P. I've been doing very well with, with the ES, and I've been doing well with the NQ as well. And so I think that we're going to not necessarily pivot our content. We're still going to focus on Bitcoin, but we are going to start implementing futures as well. So I guess a quick little announcement for you there as well. Anyways, aside from that, guys, have a good one. I will see you later. Bam, 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 bam. I don't know why I did that, but I'm going to keep it in because I like it.